In this video help, we're going to do some additional information presentation. Let's go ahead and start by looking at the main menu. The main menu is comprised of all the screens that are available in this application. One of the points I want to make is that we have in this screen additional buttons that are popovers that actually represent where you're going to do data entry. For example, if I pick this and bring it over here, I want to point out that this is a record for a recipe. Now, I covered this a little bit in the last screen. What I want to do is go through in a little bit more detail and then talk about the recipe name and this other information that's in the screen. Obviously, you can start by creating your own individual recipes, and as we stated in the last video, each one of these is a separate record, and you can reach the separate record by clicking on the portal. But what I want to cover in this particular video is that what is this information and how is it utilized? If you go to a website or a Facebook page and you want to take the information for your records, for example, that's what I did in this particular record. I went to one of the proposed recipes that are available on a Facebook page, and what I did is I basically copied and pasted the data in here so I'd have that recipe available to me when I wanted to actually produce this particular meal element. Now, obviously the information that I put in here was based on what was presented in the Facebook page. With that being said, it did not include things like a shopping list. Let's tell you about the difference between the shopping list and the actual ingredients. Now, in this particular case, if you're looking for certain items that are not normally kept in your pantry or in your home or business, you could go ahead and create a list in here of the items that you would have to purchase at the shop or store. This could be carried on your iPhone so that when you go shopping, you could pick those items off for this particular recipe and bring them back to use them in the preparation of the meal that you're working on. All you'd have to do is just type in the information. As soon as you click out of that particular field, all the data that you added there will be kept in that field. Now, we did a little presentation where I wrote in here changed. That means that if I change it here, it's also going to change it in the portal record. So anything you enter in this record is going to be updated in the portal. The next thing is the ingredients. Now, if you click into a field like this, you can go ahead and scroll down and read whatever the ingredients are that you're going to be using. Now, in preparation, what we're actually looking at here, rather than the cooking steps, is in preparation, what do you have to do to prepare this meal and have the information? You can take certain information out of the cooking steps and bring them back up here if they're unique to something that you want to change about that recipe. For example, if you're not going to use ham or cheese, which is kind of just an example, you could say what kind of changes you're making and put them in the preparation. They may be different than the ingredients that you picked off on the Facebook page, or they may have a little different preparation as far as the screen information that's in the actual cooking steps, for example. Now, down in the cooking steps, when you get to the bottom, you can see that it says air fryer at 350 at 14 minutes and flipping the breast over at halfway through. That's fairly standard. And one of the things I want to point out that's of interest to anybody that's using this application, you don't have to use one manufacturer's air fryer. You can go ahead and use anybody and adjust that. Well, that's part of the preparation that we're talking about. You can go up into the preparation, you can say, I'm using blah, blah, blah at this certain temperature, and I'm hitting this button and that button or whatever as far as preparation is concerned. That really tells you what you're using it for, because this is personalized information over what is actually shown in the Facebook page or a YouTube video or a website. So that with that in mind, you can see how you can take the preparation and change it and then adjust your shopping list so that it fits your particular needs. You may want to add something different or a different coating or something like that. So you would get a shopping list that is different and the preparation and how you change that. For example, the sauce, you may want to change the sauce to something else that's shown in this picture. Down at the bottom, it has a description. This also came from the particular Facebook page where it gives a little bit of an explanation about the thing you're going to use. Now, obviously, you can create your own recipes and stuff like that. So there would be some unique things about the preparations and shopping list, so that you would have that information available to you. And then you'd have to do your same type of preparation down here, where you're talking about how you actually do the cooking steps. Now, in some pages that you work through, if it's from another source, there may be numbers that are included in the steps. If you want to add the steps back in and change the way that they're written, you just have to click in wherever the end of the sentence is at, like here, drop it down, and then go ahead and put your numbers in, 1, 2, and so forth, if you want to do that. That's a lot of extra work, but hey, that's why we do this, so that we have exactly the way it should look, the way you want to use it. The recipe name is based on whatever you found in that particular site where you got this information. And obviously you can see up here Meredith is the one person that we were using as far as her website right now. The recipe catalog and recipe type. We dropped these down just to show you what's available in here, and I'm going to do a quick description of what these actually can do as far as how you change them. Let's go ahead and do the recipe category. When you go over to the category, I just clicked on the header and it brought me over here. Now, I showed you a little bit of this in the past video, where all you have to do is create a new add record, and then if you've got to edit something, just go ahead and click on it and it'll change these by clicking here, and then you can go ahead and change them. Now, just a little help on both these, or all three of the lists that are available, the grouped by and the type. What you can do is you can edit these before you start using them. You may want to change the entire list, in fact, or just 1 or 2 of the items. You're welcome to do that. It's your application to use the way you want to. So, for example, if I didn't want entree in there, I could take it out. Or if I wanted to change main dish to like chicken dish or something like that, you can go ahead and do that. And basically, in a recipe category, you can do whatever you want. It can be just like you can see here. I kind of did a different kind of end thing, like, for example, dressings, drinks, and trays. It's obvious that you can put those kinds of things in there and pick what you want for your kind of list. So it's not necessary that you have what everybody else is using. So let's go back. In this case, when I come back, I'm going to go to the recipe portal, and I want to show you that it is slightly different as far as how you view the information. There's a little bit more space to view it if you want to go to the individual portal record. These also still work in there. For example, if I click on this, it's going to take me to the recipe type within the portal record, and it'll do the same thing in the main screen where we were adding the catalog data. You can use it there also. And of course, in this case, what we're talking about is different things that we're working on, barbecues and breakfast and stuff like that. And that's basically a type of meal that we're going to be doing as a thing. Now, we may want to search and say we're going to have a party, and we have certain recipes that we can bring up in the actual record over here or in the catalog. If it has a type in the actual recipe, we can go to the portal and we can search for, say, a dinner in this particular case. You may also want to do a slash and call it a lunch thing if you want to. What happens when you do a search on this field, if you have dinner and lunch, because it could be used for both of them, all you would do is click back into the field after you pick something. Go ahead and click one more time, put a bar, or just type in the information like dinner and what other kind of meal you want to do. In this particular case, I might want to put lunch. That way you have the exact idea. And what happens when you do a search on things, it'll pick up either one of these as far as the fields that are in. So for example, if I wanted to see every time I use cayenne in an ingredient in any meal preparation that I'm doing, I could come over here and type that in, and it would automatically bring up that kind of that record that has that information in that field. So every time you do a preparation, you might want to say, for example, maybe you want to do the same thing from another record. You could search for it, sweep it, copy it, and then put it into the other record that you want to. As simple as just going ahead and going down and adding it to the next record that you want to put it in. Or you can switch the main record and go to another recipe in another catalog record. So there's a lot of things you can do. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the air fryer images. Now, the images that you're using over here are things that you want to retain because they are things that you want to use again, and or you want the pictures to relate to a certain recipe that you're working with. So in the photo name, you want to put in what it is you want to relate this to, and then describe it a little bit more down here as far as what you are using this for. You can also then go over and click in the portal and do a search to see how many other things have that information, because you can search in this field in the portal to find that information. Recall now from the last video, you cannot go and in this record in a portal that's a moving screen, you cannot go ahead and do a search in here because it doesn't know how to do a multi-line portal search. So you would do that in the actual portal over on this screen. Okay, let's look at a couple other things while we're here on this screen. Since we can do a search in this screen, we can go over and we'll cover some of the things, like we could start a find and it would empty the record. It would not do anything as far as trying to find a photo. A photo is an inanimate object and it only has a name up here to search by. So then you would search by that particular thing. Now recall that the image ID in this is in the same case is from the catalog record, and it's not going to be edited by you. In fact, that should not have an edit, and I'll change that. So you would go in and do a search based on the cooking chart name. Okay, let's go to the next thing. When you complete or want to complete a search, you would go ahead and perform the search. If you want to see all the records, so for example, if you went to a list view and all the records were not available, so go in and say show all records and they will come up. When you're in a list view and you want to go through the next record, or you want to go to the next record here, if there was one present, you could say go next. And then if you went next, you can always go back to the first one, which is the very first record in the list for this particular client. You can go prior and go last. Omit a record is when you're in a list view and you have multiple records in a list view. In fact, let's just go to a list view so we can go ahead and see that. Let's go into a list view. Here is a list view, and it says right up here, list view. If you wanted to make sure that you had a thing down here for the popover, and you say, I want to show all records, I want to go first, whatever, you're seeing the same data in each screen with the same pop-up with the same data in it. So if I wanted to omit a record, I would just go ahead and click omit and say like let's say there's 10 records in here. I could pick through the ones I want, and all you have to do is click into any field where you can access it. Like I click where this is, I click twice so I can actually edit in that record. Then I can go ahead and say show all records or omit a record, and you'll see it disappear in omit a record. Then I could turn around and do the reverse of that. The ones I omitted, if I wanted to see those, I would just say show omitted, and it would reverse whatever I took out of the list view and now put them back as the only records being shown. We talked about printing setup, print. This is log out, meaning that it'll take you out of the application. So for example, if you're done and you want to go out, you can just go ahead and hit log out. Contact support takes you to my support page on my website. You can import and export, but let me explain a little bit about that. The iPad and iPhone were never designed to import. You can import in these records on a browser, either on a Mac or a PC. This application can be developed for any of those items, those different devices. But keep in mind that you can export out of these records, but not import within the iPhone and iPad. So that's good to know. Let's go through a little bit, and I'm going to go back to this screen to show you it. Go back in the different screens that are available. We already know mostly about the Fryer catalog. We went into the catalog. Here's the catalog list view. In this respect, we're looking at the individual records that we talked about in a list view. The next thing is the recipe portal, which we know we've already been through. We can go up here, and then we can drop down and go into the portal recipe list view. And this is one we also went through. To edit, what that means is this button here, for any of the rows that you're looking at that are present, you can edit any one of those records in the application in the portal by clicking the edit button. It'll take you to that portal. You can also see a finished photo. This is the photo of each one of the records that are in the list. If I had multi records in here, each end photo, so to speak. What it is, it's the finished photo when the thing is completely prepared and you wanted a picture of it. Or you're taking this from a Facebook page or a website or YouTube or whatever where you want this to be available. Now, just so you know, we're going to be introducing a thing about websites in the last part of this video sequence for tutorials. And what we're going to be doing is show you how to use a URL to watch the videos that are from YouTube. Okay, let's go ahead and click out of that. Go back up to the menu options up here. And now we're going to look at the recipe image portals. And in this particular case, it's the one-on-one individual one of those where we showed each one of those before. And now we're going to go down to the image list view, which we talked a little bit about. So now in this screen, we have the name of the item and we have the popover for that particular item so we can see what it is, and it actually shows the information. Now keep in mind, if you do a search in this screen, all the records that have the photos in it and the names of them can be accessed through this particular list view. So if you're looking for a particular item, you can either use the name to find it and then edit it, or you can look at the picture to make sure it's the item that you want to use as far as the photo that is in here. Let's go to the next item, which is the AirFryer website lookup, which we're going to talk about in one of the next videos. So let's go ahead and we'll stop here, and then we're going to come back in and we're going to start on the AirFryer website lookup. And then we're going to go down and then we're going to talk about the lists that are at the bottom of the screen. So let's go to the next video tutorial.